You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first and listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I am Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Tim Thomas from the Ole Miss basketball legend realm that we're floating around there. I'm just kidding, Tim, although you were a really good player. But it's good to have you back, man, because basketball season, if you're coming back on the show, that means the basketball season is right around the corner.
Yeah, it's here. I'm so happy to be with you again this year and looking forward for the Rebels. And it's the second year, Chris Beard. And your stay at the media days is that we're going to defend the culture. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be interesting because Ole Miss is preseason ranked in the AP poll for only the second time in their history. The last time, I think it was in 1997. I was actually in Oxford at that point in school. But this is the second time in the history the AP poll has ranked Ole Miss, and Chris Beard has a history of second-year teams being very good. What should we take out of the overview going into this season?
He really recruited well. The six guys in the transfer portal were really good shooters. I think they got like six guys on the team that scored over 100 points in their career. And the biggest thing ad nauseum to me is defensive rebound. He brought in Mark Adams, Coach Adams, that was with him at Texas Tech when they made it to the finals. He brought Mark Adams. He's a defensive guru, and I think he's going to be the difference because as we talked about, that defense was suspect, defensive rebounding was real suspect, and just overall rebounding and consistency there really hurt us down as we finished up the year last year. So I'm hoping he'll get that corrected and we'll have a good year. We got several good teams in the non-conference, and then, of course, the ACC slate, adding Texas and Oklahoma. That's going to make it even harder.
You know, Chris Beard has done a pretty good job of putting that Texas Tech band back together as far as his assistant coaches, with him bringing in Adams. Brian Berg is already on staff as like the lead analyst or whatever that is. I guess according to new NCAA rules, those guys can coach on the court as well, so they might as well be assistant coaches. But also there's the post coach. I forgot his name real quick. The guy
Pinkins.
Yes, he's coming from Texas Tech as well. See, they were all kind of on that staff that took Texas Tech from nothing to almost winning the national title.
Yeah, he has a plan. Chris Beard has a plan. We saw it last year. First 13 games, we thought it was a really good plan, and then things kind of went awry, and defensive woes and defensive rebound was a trouble. But he's got the coaches. You're right. These guys, he's got a stacked load of coaches. And we got the players, I believe. Some of these guys, you may not have heard of some of them. They come from some of the, like the Belmonts and the UNC Greensboro and those places, Sam Houston State. You may not have heard about them, but they've scored a lot of points, and they love to play defense, and they love to rebound. That's why he got those guys this year.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a much more physically defensive team this season for Ole Miss. And if you look at the players that Beard took with him to Birmingham, to SEC Media Days, you had Sean Padula, the point guard transfer from Virginia Tech, and Juju Murray, who played a lot of point guard a year ago. And you know what, Tim? That tells me that Chris Beard is like building his own culture by taking both sets of point guards to SEC Media Days, because those guys should be the leader of the team. They should distribute. Everything should run through them, and this kind of a way of just nodding to it. It's like, hey, this is your team.
All championship teams start with a great point guard. In football, it's the quarterback, right? NCAA championship teams, Final Fours, final championship, you got to have a great point guard, and that's what we got. Sean Padula, along with Jalen Murray, I see great things this year. They know how to shoot. They can score. They dish off. We got Morrell over there on the side. We got Brakefield. We got the guys inside, Malik Dia. We got the Brown Jones guy. We got several. John Bowl, the freshman 7-footer, McDonald's All-American. We got several people can really play ball. And the only issue I have is rim protection. I'm hoping John Bowl will come around and help with that. But some of our guys were 6'8", 6'9", and I'm 6'8" myself, so I know some of those guys that's over 7 foot, it's hard to rim protect when you're that short. But that's the only issue I got. But I think Mark Adams come in, like we said, I think it's going to make a difference on our defense in the half court setting.
I think Mark Adams is going to play a very big role in the defensive side of this team. Last year, Ole Miss, they could defend well in about 3 spots, and teams realized that if you just keep working the ball around, you would eventually get the matchup that you need. And Jamarian Sharp or whoever would be out on the perimeter going up against a young smaller player that was a little bit quicker, and you could just take advantage of that player one-on-one. I don't know that that's going to happen, because I think with Mark Adams and I think the Chris Beard system of positionless basketball and this no middle defense, I think this is going to be the year that it shows.
Yeah, that no middle defense, we talked about some last year, but that's the key, and that's what Adams is known for. And Beard together, they'll teach that. I feel better this year. Last year, at times, they struggled, just couldn't get it done. The players, consistency, culture, whatever you might want to call it, just things just didn't happen. They had the players, had really great players. We had Sharp inside, 7'5", and sometimes he played well, and other times he didn't. I think he was on the Dallas Mavericks roster the other day. I was glad to see that. Hope he does well. But we got the guys. We'll see how they can put them together. We talked about they have some games coming up. The inter-squad game. They got the game against Illinois coming up. That should be a good game to see where we're at.
Yeah, this weekend supposedly there's supposed to be a closed-door scrimmage. I think the rumor is it's against Houston, but we've put all of that out, but we're still waiting for confirmation. But a closed-door scrimmage means you're not going to get confirmation on that, by the way. But then on October 28th, Ole Miss plays Illinois. It's a game that's going to be broadcast on the SEC network. It is a preseason game. Illinois, they had a pretty good basketball team in the recent past. This is going to be a good game. And the day after the Oklahoma game, showing that is kind of going to show everybody nationally what this Ole Miss basketball team has.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. They were really good last year. They were in the dance, of course, and they had a really good player, Terrence Shannon. I think he's in pros now, but they're really good. The Big Ten, of course. Beard knows him. They got together and decided to do this. The SEC Network picked it up. So it's going to be really a good game, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, kind of a different time. But I think a lot of people watch it or tape it. That's what I'm going to do and try to look at this. So this is definitely a parameter where we're at. Where are we? You got all these guys. You got Morrell coming back, Brakefield, T.J. Caldwell. You got these guys. Where are we at? Padula, Murray. How are they going to do as a point guard? And how about these guys that we really feel like it's going to be a great culture, a great defensive team, great defending team. And we'll see against Illinois, the Fighting Illini. Their coach is Brad Underwood. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and after that, it's like a week later is the season opener. It should be really cool. Anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. When we come back, we're going to dig into personnel a little bit. For those who might not know the players that are on this roster, we're going to look at them as well. So stick around for that. Game Time is your place to get your Ole Miss tickets with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from receipts, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets. Vaught-Hemingway Stadium does not have a bad seat. The Pavilion does not have a bad seat. But through Game Time, you can look and see exactly what the view will be from that seat. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They take the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets with Game Time. And with this being the most anticipated season and it being a sellout all during the season, I might be able to help you out with tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back, and let's get into the personnel a little bit and look at the differences of this roster, because you mentioned the 6 transfers that came in. The players that are coming back, Matthew Morrell is coming back to school, and Chris Beard at SEC Media Days talked about how Matthew Morrell is one of the best players that he has ever coached in college. Him coming back, if he He is the player that Ole Miss has that has the ability to just completely take over a game. And there have not been many players in Ole Miss's history that have that ability. Now, the question is, can Matthew Morrell do that consistently and when he wants to, right?
Matthew Morrell, he's convinced me that he can do it on both ends. Like you talked, consistency. Beard mentioned that yesterday to me today. Is consistency of doing it every game, and that's what he needs to do well in the pros next year. He's got to be consistent with those points. He's got to learn to rebound better. He's got to learn to play defense better. Everything he does well, but he's all SEC second team. If Ole Miss does well, I believe at the end of the year he'll be first team All SEC because he's got potential, great shooting touch, beautiful shot from three. The NBA team would love to pick him up, and he's going to lead the Rebels to the dance this year. I feel it. That's what he came back for. He could have went pro. He could be playing in France like the Flanagan kid. He's in France played, so he could be doing that or play. He could be playing on the G League team. But Matthew Morrell is going to lead us. Kind of like Dark's leading the football team. Had a little struggle lately. Dark's been leading the team. Morrell is that team leader, and he's the one that we'll be looking to make it happen. Now, we got to have, like we talked about, Padula. I think he's going to be a great help. And you got Brakefield, a great leader on our team. So this year is the chance, the last dance, the dance, whatever you want to call it. This is the chance for the second year of Chris Beard to defend the culture and defend like we need to be defended. We need to pick up all that different defensive woes that we had. But I think this is a year, and Matthew's the one to lead us.
And joining Morrell will be Juju Murray returning as well. TJ Caldwell is coming back as well. And obviously Jamin Brakefield. Those are the four major minute getters, I guess, that are returning off of last year's team that won 20 games. But the transfers coming in, like Sean Padula, Dre Davis, those players like Malik Dia. Talk about them a little bit and what people can expect from them.
Yeah, some of the guys, it's hard to know. I watched the video like you did on Malik Dia, the Mikael Brown-Jones, and Javon Barnes, and then there's another guy, Benson. So some of those guys you really don't know a lot about. But I know Dia played at Vanderbilt, so he's had the past SEC experience, and the Brown-Jones, he was a great shooter. So I figure, I'm hoping, I'm praying that these guys all fit together and play well. And Beard mentioned it. He said it very clearly. They're gonna have to give up some of their points. They're used to scoring. The top player, they're gonna have to give a little of that up and put some of that energy into playing defense and blocking out every time and making sure you defend well every time down the court. For them to be a championship team, and you've heard it all your life, defense wins championships. You got to have a good offense, no doubt. You got to have an offense, but the defense is very important in the SEC and in an NCAA dance possibility.
Yeah, the amount of points that is on Ole Miss's roster this year is absolutely ridiculous. If you look at it, like Juju Murray, Matthew Morrell, heck, I think maybe even Jamin Brakefield, Malik D, I think, did it as well. Sean Padula has done. These are all players that have had 30-point games in the recent history. I mean, there's a lot of people that can score the basketball. And if you remember last year's basketball team, you had about 3 players that could score the ball. But if Matthew Morrell was in foul trouble or if Juju Murray was on the bench, you only had Alan Flanagan for somebody that could go get a bucket, and you became extremely predictable. I do think this team has a chance to be much more varied scoring the basketball this year.
Yeah, that's very important. We mentioned that sometimes if Morrell was out or he was hurt or he was having a bad game, and then Flanagan, that was it. Flanagan would do his little move inside and fade back or whatever. We didn't have Juju Murray would step up occasionally and come through, and Brakefield would come through. But I think we got plenty of guys this year. They could score. Their stats show that. They're the lower echelon league, but a lot of those leagues beat the big-time teams, as you see in the dance later on. But I feel like we got a great set of kids, a great set of players that could score, and they also want to defend and rebound. So if all that comes together, we got a chance to be really good.
What type of player do you think Dre Davis is? What can people expect from him?
I watched his videos and saw him in the NIT a little bit. He's a dog. He really he's a hard playing guy. He's the same size pretty much of Flanagan last year. Alan Flanagan. Same size, same build, same height, but he really plays hard. He takes it to the goal, and he can step back and hit a three. And he's on defense, man. He's elite. He gets after people. He's really hard nosed. He's gritty. He's you'll enjoy watching him. I enjoyed watching the videos of what I saw of him last year. He's one of those guys that really plays hard, and you love to watch him.
So this Ole Miss basketball team, I'm just mentally trying to put together what I can expect. If you have two real dogs, because Matthew Morrell is a defensive dog. I mean, just absolutely. If you had him with a Dre Davis, and if Sean Padula can do that defensive effort as well, that's three people on the perimeter. This has a chance to be a little bit different looking basketball team.
You got to have those guys to be able to do this. The defense that we talked about, no middle defense. You got to push them over to the side. You got the point guard starts that playing help side. You got to push them over to the side. And you got to have a help side. They will say, excuse me. And then you got to push it over. They try to keep them over there. Try to keep them where they don't want to go. You don't want them to going back for them long threes, open threes. So it's a good plan. It works well. I've watched it, and I sent it to you. You watched it, I think. Mark Adams and the Beard together, they know how to do it. They know how to make it happen. Last year, for whatever reason, we won't go into that again, but whatever reason, it just didn't work towards the end of the season. It just stopped. The effort wasn't there. Consistency wasn't there. The defensive rebound wasn't there. So it just doesn't work if you don't do those things. But this year, hopefully, Lord willing, we got the people that can make that happen.
Should be interesting. This weekend supposedly is a closed-door scrimmage that we're going to hear nothing about. Next Saturday is Ole Miss and Oklahoma in football. Sunday is Ole Miss in Illinois in an exhibition in the Pavilion. It's one of those charity games. So you have a chance to see what Ole Miss basketball looks like. And then about a week later, Ole Miss will open up against, I think it was LIU. Did you say Long Island?
Long Island, yes.
And so it should be pretty interesting. But Tim, it's here, buddy. Basketball season's here.
And we're undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated. Yes. Yes. I only have 7 days to get this team as hyped up as humanly possible. I'm intending on rat poisoning the heck out of them.
Okay. Good deal. I'm looking forward to it too. It's of course it's my favorite. I love to watch football too. I'm sad we had a couple losses. Maybe we can run it the rest of the way, all the way through with no losses. That's what I'm hoping for. But basketball is here. Those of you that enjoy it, it's here. And let's support our Rebels, all the different sports. Go Rebels.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Tim Thomas, former Ole Miss basketball player and the lead analyst on all things Ole Miss basketball. Tim, thank you very much for joining us. And, hey, it's here. Enjoy it, buddy.
Good deal. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.